Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Dave and Johnny live. I'm Dave. Here's Johnny. What's up, Johnny?
Not much. I mean, it's more of the same this week again, I guess.
What do you
I
mean, more of
guess,
the same?
well, it's still like house arrest, right? So,
House
still more of the
arrest.
same.
What did you do, John? You're under house arrest? Everybody else is just isolating, trying to avoid coronavirus. How is this still going on? Doesn't it feel like it should have stopped by now? Anyways, I hope you're not under house arrest. I hope you're doing what I'm doing. We are here to talk about Dark Side of the Ring, the Jimmy Snuka, Nancy Argentino episode, the death of Jimmy Snuka's girlfriend at the time. Did Jimmy Snuka do it? Did he not? You saw the documentary. If you didn't, there's going to be spoilers here, so get ready because we saw it and we're going to review it here on Dave and Johnny Live. I want to get right into it, Big Johnny. Forget about all this other talk. Let's get right into it. If you have questions or comments or anything, drop them on the chat right now. You could drop us a super chat if there's anything you want us to talk about here on the show. Just hit that super chat button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and when you do subscribe, click the bell so you get notifications every time that we're on, like we're on right now. So hit us up on the super chat. Anything you want us to talk about, any questions that you have, we'll be happy to answer them. Hit that bell, and we will hook you up. Right now, though, I want to stick with Dark Side of the Ring, the Jimmy Snuka story. Told the story of Jimmy Snuka, how he grew up basically homeless, according to the documentary, kind of roaming the streets, finds pro wrestling somehow, and becomes this mega star. They kind of glossed over the origin story of Jimmy Snuka, and they were just like, yeah, he was this kid. He didn't really have anybody, and then all of a sudden, he's this big pro wrestler. I think he met Afa and Sika, right, at some point, and then he became a pro wrestler. That's basically how Jimmy Snuka arrived in the wrestling business, meeting the Wild Samoans.
Well, they kind of missed the ending part too. Like, after he left WWF, he actually came back to WWF and he had a bit of run ECW, and they kind of like, oh yeah, he did stuff, but they kind of just passed over a lot of it.
Yeah, they kind of talk about how his career fizzled out in the late 80s, early 90s, and then they kind of act like he was never seen in wrestling again, but that's not really true. Like, it was like, they said, oh, he went to the Indies, and then he did autograph signings, and then that was it, kind of the Jimmy Snuka story, but that's not really the full story. But it's hard to get the full story in a 45-minute documentary.
Well, that's it. I don't think it was mainly the point of the story they were trying to tell. The main point of the story they're trying to tell is the fact that his girlfriend died.
Yeah, it's really the mystery around the death of Nancy Argentino, who was Snuka's girlfriend. I thought it was really fascinating to get the perspective of Snuka's wife, right? I mean, who was married to Snuka at the time. While all this was going on, she was married to him and remained married to him until he died. I didn't know that. And is that Tamina's mom?
I'm not 100% sure. I wouldn't be surprised. It's very possible.
I think
But
it
this,
is.
as they kind of said this in the documentary, this wasn't uncommon in wrestling, especially back then, where you would have a wife, but you'd also have a girl in different states as well.
Yeah, well, that happened a lot in wrestling. But I'm pretty sure
Well, that was
that,
a lot in sports.
yeah, it happens in sports, of course. But I'm pretty sure, oh, maybe not. Maybe that isn't uh Tamina's mom. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who that woman was. Like, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to tell. Like,
Well, it's tough too because Tamina wasn't interviewed at all in this, so there's a part of the story that's never told. You don't get to hear Vince's side of the story. They talk about Vince a lot, but you never hear what Vince has to say about it.
yeah, of course, Vince McMahon's not appearing in any of these Dark Side of the Ring things. Um, but I'm not sure. I mean, Tamina, I wonder how she feels. This is her dad, right? Being talked about in this documentary. Tamina is a WWE wrestler. She used to go under Tamina Snuka, but then they changed it to just Tamina after these kind of allegations came back up on Jimmy Snuka. The story is, it's a pretty crazy story. It's a story we've heard and we've known about in pro wrestling for a very long time. So basically what happens is Jimmy Snuka's girlfriend winds up dead. It's not clear how she died. It seems like there was some blunt force trauma to the head. It seems like she was hit in the head. Jimmy Snuka claims that the incident was in a car ride where she went on the side of the road to urinate, and then she came back and she slipped on the road and hit her head. And then he brought her back to the hotel, went to the arena to do his matches, came back some 8 hours later, and found her unresponsive, and that's when he called an ambulance. But there are other stories, even another story that he told apparently when she was in the hospital was that, he didn't mean to push her, and she fell, and she hit her head. So there were differing stories from Jimmy Snuka on the occasion. I mean, he told police that she fell and hit her head on a car ride. That was a story he gave law enforcement. Law enforcement seemed satisfied by that story for some reason, which we can talk about. Could be Vince McMahon, the reason, and maybe a briefcase full of money. Who knows? But, I mean, this story does not make Vince McMahon or the WWE look very good, because here you have Jimmy Snuka, who was very over, a hot star at the time. His girlfriend winds up dead. He's got differing stories on what actually happened. He says it was a car ride to the cops, but then he told some hospital workers at the time when she was in the hospital that, they were kind of play wrestling and she fell and maybe he wrestled her a little bit too hard. So there's different stories from Snuka. So he looks guilty as hell, right? And then you see the investigation. You see the guy, now 30 years later, talking about it, who's the cop, who was the chief of police at the time. He doesn't seem too convincing. There's this meeting with Vince McMahon that happens. Vince walks in with Snuka and the cops in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which, by the way, Allentown, Pennsylvania was where WWF at the time was running most of their TV. Most of the TV shows you saw taped, most of the big TV shows were taped out of Allentown, Pennsylvania. That was a hub for the WWE. And let me tell you, when you have big stars like Andre the Giant and Jimmy Snuka walking around town, not much else is happening in Allentown, Pennsylvania, you have some stroke. You could call your own shots in certain aspects. So when Vince McMahon goes in with Snuka, has a meeting, and that's the only meeting that the cops had during this investigation that was not on the record. There's no record of this meeting. It did happen, but the cop in the documentary is like, well, it was probably so insignificant that there was no reason to keep a record. But every other interview that happened as part of this investigation was kept in, a file. Because this is still technically an open case. It's an open murder. It's unsolved. They did bring Snuka to trial, 25, 30 years later. But at that point, they deemed him unfit mentally and physically to stand trial, and he died 6 months later. So the justice that may have come way too late, and you wonder what was said by Vince McMahon in that meeting, what was done by Vince McMahon in that meeting. And you also wonder, did Vince really offer the Argentino family $25,000 to maybe go away or keep quiet or not bother them too much? Because that's what the Argentino family, the sisters, are claiming in the documentary, that Snuka's promoter called them up and said, would $25,000 help? And then they said, our sister's life is worth more than $25,000, and they hung up. They don't say who the promoter is, but Snuka was working for the WWF at the time, and the promoter was Vince McMahon. So this documentary did not make Vince look very good. It made Snuka look like a murderer. His wife didn't seem to believe the story at all. His wife seemed to think it was all a big misunderstanding and Jimmy would never do that. I don't know. It did not look good. It did not look good for Vince McMahon or the WWF. Shout out to Wally on the Super Chat saying shout out to Extra 90.5 FM. They know good sport, and they do. Shout out to them, our home in Peterborough. But Johnny North, man, this does not make Vince look good. Vince came off like he tried to cover up a murder in this documentary, right? Like, that's how it came off.
They definitely made it look like that. And that's kind of rough. I wonder if there's going to be any legal ramifications because of this, because it definitely gives WWE another black eye. And I remember when Snuka passed away, we were talking about this. And you don't want to go into details because all details weren't revealed at the time. But the main thing, and I thought the main thing that really stood out in this was that the autopsy, it revealed that it wasn't just one shot, it was multiple shots, apparently.
Yeah. Not good.
That's very damaging. That just shows you, like, I mean, you could fall, sure, but the fact that it was multiple shots, it just goes to show you, like, his story was incorrect from the start. And the fact that it just kept changing, like, he lost the civil case. Like, I'm almost positive he probably would have lost in the federal case, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
I agree. I think that, man, it just seems like he was headed for some sort of repercussions. It seems like if he hadn't had died, he was headed for some serious either jail time or he was going to lose a civil suit or whatever. But he seemed guilty, man. He seemed very guilty.
It's bad, too, when pretty much all the other wrestlers were saying, like, yeah, I think he probably did it. That's really bad as well. I mean, they didn't talk to everybody, but a lot of people have talked about it over the years. A lot of people believe that he did it.
Yeah, a lot of people do. And I'm just seeing an article here. Now, somebody on the chat, I think it was, who was it? Bob Cote, he says, Tamina is the daughter of Snuka's first wife, Sharon. And that's true here. Sharon was Tamina's mother, and that was Snuka's wife. But it's a different wife. It's not, so the woman in the documentary is not Tamina's mom. It's Snuka's second wife or third wife or who knows. But here you're seeing, I'm seeing this article here, and this is Buddy Rogers, who did an interview with Complex. He says about Tamina's mom, Sharon, it just shows you what kind of guy Jimmy was. This is Buddy Rogers, who you saw in the documentary was Jimmy's handler, right? He was very close to Jimmy. He kind of was the guy who watched over him and drove him around and kept him under control. This is Buddy Rogers. He says, Jimmy used to beat the shit out of that woman. She would show up at our house, bruised and batters, but she couldn't leave him. He had her hooked on the same junk he was using. I mean, that is a portrait of a horrible, horrible man. Portrait of a man who seems certainly capable of murdering his girlfriend in a hotel room.
Well, I think the scary part is that there's clearly many times that he was on drugs. He's admitted to taking steroids. So it's unfortunately very likely that something happened terribly, and he may have been the cause of it. But unfortunately, again, it was never completely proven in court. So you can just say maybe at this point.
Allegedly, I suppose, right? But they both seem very guilty. I'm seeing Derek John, he says Jimmy and Vince are guilty AF. You know? Definitely, it seems like the court of public opinion has deemed them guilty. Vince definitely seemed like he was involved in making this whole thing go away, and you can understand how Vince might have, A, had the motivation, and B, had the power in Allentown, Pennsylvania to get that done. Snuka was a big star for his company, one of your big stars, you know, on cocaine, partying, going wild, kills his girlfriend. I mean, that's not going to be a good look for the company. And let's not forget, the WWF in the early 80s is not the WWE that it is right now. It wasn't this juggernaut, you know, it wasn't this huge, powerful company. A thing like that could have brought them down completely. Like, the company could have been totally done had Snuka come out and been charged with murder at the time, right? Like, let's not pretend that the WWF could have survived this. This could have been it for the company at that time.
Well, remember, this is like before WrestleMania, right? Because that was the big make or break for the company at the time. So if they had a huge hit before that, who knows if they had the possibility of even doing WrestleMania. If I'm not mistaken, I think Snuka was involved in the main event of WrestleMania. Small role, but still, he was kind of a part of it. So they kind of needed star power. So the fact they'd lose someone like Snuka and have another huge problem like that's rough for them. I don't know if they would have been able to survive. But I also feel like Vince, like, I mean, he's not the one who committed the murder. Like, I can kind of understand what he did. Like, he was protecting his company.
Yeah, but it's not the right thing to do. It's wrong.
It's a rough situation. It's a terrible situation. He was just trying to make the best of it. I don't know. I don't think the 25,000. I think he was just trying to help them instead of just trying to make it all go away.
Helped them because he felt guilty, because he felt that Snuka was, guilty. One of his guys did this, and he wanted to pay them off so that, I mean, I'm sure he wasn't happy with what happened, but my goodness, man. He may have saved Jimmy Snuka from a life in jail. And I don't think that was the right thing to do. I think Jimmy Snuka should have done the time for what he's done. And I think that a lot of people that grew up idolizing Jimmy Snuka, a lot of people that look at him like a great wrestler and a good brother and all this stuff, you got to rethink your memory of Jimmy Snuka. You got to put him in the same category as you put a Chris Benoit or anybody like that. As great of a talent as you may have been, you do something like murder your girlfriend, murder your wife, whatever, you're done, man. You're done. It's pretty disgusting, and it's pretty sad to see. What's his name? Fatu?
Right.
The Tonga kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's not Tongan. He's Samoan, right? He's a Fatu.
Well, it was a gimmick.
He's Roman Reigns' what, uncle or cousin? I can't quite tell with that Samoan family. He's a Fatu, so he's definitely the Usos' uncle, right?
Again, uncle or cousin. I think they're all cousins. I think.
No. This is Sam Fatu. He's the older brother of Umaga, and I think the younger brother of. Oh no, he's the twin brother. He's Rikishi's twin brother. I didn't know that. I didn't know there were twins. Man, there's a lot of twins. By the way, congratulations to Roman Reigns, who I think his wife is pregnant with twins. There's going to be another set of Samoan twins. My goodness, Rikishi and Sam Fatu, they were, big in pro wrestling. Of course, the Usos, and now Roman Reigns is going to have a set of twins. I mean, in 20, 25 years, look out. The Samoan dynasty continues. Roman, yeah, congratulations. He's going to be a father of 5. 3 ain't enough, man. He needs 5.
Don't worry, you'll catch up eventually.
I hope not. My goodness. I couldn't handle 5. 1 is a lot. 5? Woo. Good luck to you, Roman Reigns. I hope it all goes well. But wow, 5. Another set of twins. Yeah, so the guy who's in the documentary, Sam Fatu, that's Rikishi's twin brother. He's related to Kish. Okay. He's the Usos. Of course, Rikishi is the Usos' father. And so he's the uncle to Rikishi. His son is the Sam Fatu's son is the father of Jacob Fatu, who is the MLW heavyweight champion.
Right, yeah. I heard about that.
So it runs deep, man. These guys are everywhere, So some people are like, who is this guy? I'm like, oh, this is he's a Fatu, like Trinity Fatu.
It's a huge family that just keeps expanding, as we see.
Yeah, Naomi's in it. Her last name is Fatu now. Trinity Fatu. It's a hell of a name. I mean, why? I mean, when your name is Trinity Fatu, when that's your shoot name, why would you call yourself Naomi on TV? Like, her wrestling name is way weaker than her real name. Like, if she ever got released by WWE, which, hope she doesn't. A lot of people getting released these days. But she could easily go as Trinity Fatu and have a super badass wrestling name.
Yeah, without question, but you've seen it in the past. They're big on the whole one-name wrestler kind of thing. It's kind of ridiculous, but they prefer that.
Yeah, it's dumb. It doesn't make sense. I don't like it. So I want to hear the most damning part. I want to hear from Sam Fatu a little bit from this documentary. We're just going to play a clip for you. Now, the whole story, the whole time from Jimmy Snuka, what he tells the cops is, we were in a car ride. She fell, brought her back to the hotel. I came back from the matches, and she died. Now, here is Sam Fatu saying that he was in the car with Snuka and Nancy Argentino on the car ride where she supposedly slipped and died. Here's his account of what happened.
Yes, I was. I was there in the George Washington Hotel in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Yeah. We drove to Allentown, Pennsylvania, me, Jimmy, and her. We jumped into the car and drove there.
Okay, so you and Jimmy and Nancy drove together to Allentown.
Yep.
And what do you remember from that ride all over?
Oh, it was fun. I was in the back seat. We had the Elvis going, and Jimmy had some nice, beautiful cologne on. He always loves cologne. It smells good. And we just talked and chopped it all up, going to Allentown, Pennsylvania. Yep. As soon as we
Did she hit her head?
arrived at Allentown, Jimmy and Nancy went their way, their room, and I went my way to my room. And that's when all that stuff took place, when Nancy got killed that night.
You recollect what kind of his story was that he had told about what had happened with Nancy?
I don't really know what Jimmy told the police.
Yeah, it was basically that they were driving, coming into Allentown, and she had to use the restroom.
A lie.
And so she walked outside the car, and she fell while she was using the bathroom outside the car. Do you remember that story at all?
No, I don't remember that story.
Did you ever have any...
Because it didn't happen. Because it didn't happen at all. Doesn't remember that story. He was the third person in the car. Doesn't remember it because, hey, it didn't happen. Didn't happen at all. Now, his wife is like, oh, these wrestlers, it's not that it didn't happen. Well, they don't always remember that it happened. They might be misremembering things. Come on. This lady is, she got the blinders on. She wants to remember her husband as this nice, sweet old man. And a lot of people in wrestling, including Sam Fatu, including a lot of the wrestlers, want to kind of remember Snuka as a nice guy that they liked and they partied with or whatever. But come on. It's clear that he told a false story. She died at his hands, and he never paid any kind of price for it. And, we need to tell that story, and that needs to be the story of Jimmy Snuka. I think the WWE took him out of the Hall of Fame, and they really shouldn't be celebrating his life or memory at all. They haven't, thankfully, ever since this story kind of got brought back up and he was up for trial. They kind of disappeared Jimmy Snuka, took him out of the Hall of Fame, and treated him as he never existed. And they need to keep that going forever. I feel bad for Tamina, because she's got to be on TV prominently kind of associated with Jimmy Snuka because he's her father. And, this movie's out now. This documentary comes out, and then you see Tamina on TV. It's kind of like, oh, I don't know. It sucks for her because she didn't do anything wrong, but her father's name right now being brought up in a very bad way because he did a very bad thing. As far as I'm concerned, he did that.
Well, it's got to be tough for her because I'm sure other wrestlers talk about it, and I'm sure it's not the greatest thing to hear when you hear about your father who's passed away, and that must have been tough for her too, to see him just slowly slip away and then couldn't even talk to him or talk to her back then. So that must have been really rough. And now to hear all this stuff as well come up, that's really hard. And now she just has to focus on wrestling. It's probably a good escape for her.
Yeah, and she's being used quite a bit on TV, right?
Well, they need someone else because on SmackDown, I mean, Bayley, Becky, like they've been champions, they've been dominant. They need new challengers. I wouldn't say Tamina's like top pick, but I mean, there's nobody else. She's beaten everybody else, so it's really just Tamina at this point on SmackDown.
Big Johnny, we've got so much to get to on Wrestling Uncensored this week. The show is going to be jam-packed with stuff. We're going to talk about Ronda Rousey and what she said this week caused a whole controversy. I'm going to tell you why Ronda's right. Okay, how about that? People aren't going to be happy about that, Johnny.
Well, I think it's a work, but whatever. Like,
Okay.
and they're just playing it up.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Howard Finkel as well. Of course, we lost Howard Finkel this week. Rest in peace to the Fink. We'll talk about the releases. If you missed our show that we put out earlier this week, we did a Wrestling Uncensored special report. That's available on the YouTube channel right now. You can go watch that. We're going to talk about all the Money in the Bank qualifiers. Asuka, Nia Jax, and Shayna all qualified for Money in the Bank on Raw this week. We've got some qualifying matches on the men's side coming up this week on Raw. We've got some matches on SmackDown that we're going to talk about, some qualifiers. Daniel Bryan and Cesaro are supposed to wrestle tonight. It seems like Seth Rollins is going to be the next challenger for Drew McIntyre and the Money in the Bank event. I think he'll be challenging for the WWE title there, Seth versus Drew. And we'll get to everything else going on in the WWE and AEW. It's been a busy week, and we're going to talk about all the other things in pro wrestling this week on Wrestling Uncensored. The show will drop tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. right here on the YouTube channel.
We're going to talk about how wrestling's like essential now, and they need to always have wrestling.
Wrestling's always been essential.
I believe that, and I'm glad to hear that, but I don't think a lot of people believe that, and I think a lot of people are actually upset about that. But I'm happy that wrestling is essential.
Why are people upset about wrestling being essential? Why? What is pissing people off? Do you know how much stuff is essential right now, deemed essential, that's really not that essential? You know how many things are going on right now that, watch TV once in a while. You think all those shows that are still happening are essential? Why is wrestling for some reason not essential? You know what I don't understand? All these people that are like, oh, they're putting the superstars at risk and, oh, it's not essential and they shouldn't be doing wrestling matches. These are the same people that are like, oh, I can't believe the WWE fired so many people. I can't believe they're releasing everybody. It's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you don't want them to be putting on matches, everybody's going to get fired. If they're not making any money, how do you think that people are going to get paid? How do you think people are going to keep their jobs? I don't understand what people want. Put on the matches so that these wrestlers can continue to live out their contracts, live out their dreams as WWE superstars. Put on the goddamn matches. And if you can't show up to the Performance Center, that's okay. But if you can and you want to wrestle, then what are we waiting for here? Why is everybody so mad? I don't understand why people are mad that pro wrestling is going on. And I don't understand the hypocrisy of the same people who are mad that wrestling's going on, but wrestlers are getting fired at the same time. It's like, well, if the wrestlers don't have matches, do you expect the WWE to keep paying them forever? That would be stupid. It would be stupid to pay wrestlers to not wrestle. You would have to be Eric Bischoff and Ted Turner in WCW to do that. And look how that turned out. Bunch of wrestlers got paid to not wrestle, and they went out of business. You want the WWE to go out of business? Then no one gets paid. Figure it out. It's simple. It's math.
Well, it's two issues right there you bring up. Like the wrestlers getting fired. Some people will complain that they're still making enough money. They don't need to fire the wrestlers. But, I mean, if you look at it, this is around WrestleMania time. They always cut wrestlers. It's just obviously now they cut more because they don't need them as much. It makes sense. Like you just said, actually, that the fact that a lot of these people aren't wrestling anyways, so why not cut them if you're not even going to use them or not planning to use them anyways?
That's it. And there's so much talent that wasn't being used. Like, why are people mad that Rusev got fired? You know, are people really mad that Rusev got cut? I don't think Rusev is. I don't think Rusev's mad at all. I think a lot of guys got released. They're upset, but they'll find their way, and they'll probably have more success going forward. I understand that wrestlers get cut. It's the way of the wrestling business. It always happens. It always happens. Like you said, Johnny, after WrestleMania, they usually do a spring cleaning. It sucks when people lose their jobs, but it happens, okay? It happens in the WWE quite frequently. You always want to see new stars in the WWE. Well, do you want the WWE to just sign everybody? Do you want them to hold on to all the talent in professional wrestling? No, you don't. You don't want that at all. Because what happens when they do that is they just keep that talent and they don't use it. Look at Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. They're one of the best tag teams on the planet, but because the WWE has so much talent and so little time, they barely feature those guys. They would be better off outside of the WWE. Rusev is going to be better off outside of the WWE. Eric Rowan will probably be better off outside of WWE. EC3 is already better off. Drake Maverick, Rockstar Spud, whatever you want to call him, he's going to be good because he's a charismatic dude who can wrestle. He's got a hell of a look. He can do something. No Way Jose, I don't know. No say. But
well, here's another thing that hasn't been brought up. It's the fact that I think the NXT talent have like a 30-day no-compete clause, and the other talents have like a 90-day no-compete clause. So I know we suggested maybe for the AEW pay-per-view we'd see some people show up. That's not going to be possible unless there was the NXT talent.
So you're saying that people can't be picked up for what, 90 days?
From like who were released like from Raw? Yeah, that's correct. So like the club, Rusev, they have 90 days no compete.
Okay. So where are we now? We're mid-April, so May, June, July. So mid-July, you're saying
July.
that? Yeah, that's a while. That's a while to stay on the shelf, but I'm sure there's money coming in. Like, during a no-compete, you still get paid by the WWE, right? In some way?
What's left of the downside guarantee, yes.
Right, what's left of your downside. So you're still collecting a paycheck. Yeah, it sucks, though, and that means don't expect any of those people to show up on AEW's Double or Nothing at the end of May.
Which is too bad.
Yeah.
Really too bad, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, into July, their next pay-per-view will be what, August?
All in or all out or whatever?
All Out, yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. I mean, part of a big return or a big debut is the pop from the crowd. And if Double or Nothing is going to be held without a crowd, which probably, it will, why not wait till August when maybe you can have a crowd? Like, it's not the worst thing. If you're going to debut some new stars, it wouldn't be bad to debut some stars with a crowd.
Yeah, but you're seeing a lot of places now, they're canceling like all events till like next year. And that might even be extended as well into next year.
Next year? Who's canceling stuff till next year?
Not mistaken, New York City canceled all events for the year. I think LA as well.
Stop the clock. Is that serious? Is that real? I didn't catch that one. New York City canceled all events for the year? The year? The year is like just started, man. We're in April. We're the 4th month. 8 more months with no events till 2021? That can't be real. That can't be real. Nothing at Madison Square Garden until January 2021? I don't believe that. I think that's fake news, Johnny North. Don't be spreading fake news. I don't think that's real. That can't be real, man. I know here for sure the deal is no events until September 1st, at least. They canceled everything for the summer. No events all summer long, which, like, in a place like Montreal, where the summer is the only time it's, like, warm and nice, the rest of the time it's bitter cold. It sucks that summer's been totally canceled, right? It sucks.
It sucks, but at least here, I mean, we're the worst in terms of Canada, but in terms of the States, they're much worse than us. So I kind of understand if they make it much more strict, because they should actually make it more strict, because I think it doesn't seem like it's working as well over there.
Okay, so officially, John, Mayor Bill de Blasio in New York City has canceled all non-essential city-permitted events through May. And early summer concert and festivals have been canceled, but it's not like it's canceled all year. What I am seeing is Billboard magazine reporting that LA Mayor says LA Mayor Eric Garcetti told CNN that it's difficult to imagine us getting together in the thousands anytime soon, so I think we should be prepared for that this year. So live events may not be resuming in LA or New York until 2021, but that's not official. It's, I don't know, it's just a guess. De Blasio said, I've got to see in my city real steady progress, even to start to think about relaxing some of those social distancing standards even a little bit. I want to get people back to work, of course. I want to get kids back to school. But I think it will take months to go through that whole sequence. And the last thing I want to do is gather 10, 20, 50,000 people in one place. That's like the exact opposite of social distancing. So they're just saying that it's hard to imagine it happening anytime soon, but they haven't officially canceled it for the rest of the year, Johnny. That would be pretty rough. Nothing until
Well, this
fall.
goes back. Right, okay. Well, this goes back to the essential thing, where it's some things are still cut off. A lot of people still don't have their jobs, have been laid off, yet people are wrestling. This goes back to how like some people are kind of jealous at this point. The fact that wrestling is essential and their jobs aren't, apparently.
Deal with it. I mean,
well, they are, but people are upset. I can understand that. They aren't making money, yet these wrestlers can still go about and do their job. I can understand why they'd be upset. Why wrestling, not hockey?
Because hockey, you have to have, 10 people on the ice, plus a bunch of people, on a bench together. Too many people. Wrestling, you could have 2 people in a ring. With a referee, it's 3 people. That's why. Boom. Answered. Solved.
Right. Oh, we're seeing golf is coming back, apparently. Little things
sense.
are coming back.
Tennis?
Yeah, golf comes back.
Why not tennis? You can play tennis. You're more than 6 feet apart at all times playing tennis. I don't know why the tennis hasn't started with empty tennis court things. Why not?
Well, that's another one right there. You could even say baseball as well. If they change the rules of baseball, you could easily see that working.
I don't know about changing the rules of baseball. I still don't see how you get around having a batter and a catcher next to each other the whole time. I don't that's the only thing, plus say you get to first base. Say you have to make a tag. There's no social distancing there. Baseball's going to be tough. Football, impossible. Hockey, you're way too close to people. Too many people at one time. Football, same thing. Soccer, same thing. Basketball, same thing. Too many people. Too many people. Baseball, they're separated. Maybe you could make it work. Maybe. Wrestling, that's fine. MMA, that's fine. Tennis, that works. Golf, why not? A lot of those sports can work, man. A lot of sports could come back to life soon. Let's go.
Well, hopefully that's going to happen. I think boxing as well. There's a huge push for boxing, so I definitely see that.
Yeah, why not?
But again, this is gradual.
Yeah, it's gradual, but you know what I like about this whole thing is that everybody else disappeared and has to come back. WWE went nowhere. Wrestling went nowhere. AEW went nowhere. This whole time, they haven't taken a week off, and neither have we.
It's good for me. I'm happy, but I could see why a lot of people would be upset that their stuff went away.
Yeah, well, I don't care. I'm not those people. What do I care? My stuff hasn't gone away. UFC, May 9th. Money in the Bank, May 10th. Double or Nothing, May 23rd. The channel is going to be very, very busy in the month of May. That May 9th and 10th weekend, my goodness. We're going to be so busy.
We are, but another concern is WrestleMania is scheduled for March. And again, the speculation is that this might last longer. They should maybe change the date of WrestleMania, I think.
Pump the brakes. We'll see. We'll see. WrestleMania is scheduled for March 2021. You're already talking about rescheduling WrestleMania for next year? Come on, John. Take it easy. Take it easy. This is all going to be all right. Haven't you seen the rainbows everywhere? Everything's going to be fine.
Well, I don't know about you. It's been freezing cold, actually, this past week. A lot of rain, and we're kind of almost below temperatures here. Like, it's actually been kind of crummy this week.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to go outside anyway, so who cares?
You don't want to go outside. I get it, yeah.
AJ wants skeet shooting and distanced bingo. Those are good sports. Skeet shooting. You could skeet shoot all day. Pull.
The big question is to bring back, like, jiu-jitsu, like, just the schools for that. That might take a very long time. That sucks for you, though.
Yeah, man, I want to get back to rolling jiu-jitsu. I'm really annoyed that I can't grapple anybody. Like, I want to grip somebody and squeeze, you know? But it's not happening, and I don't know when the next time it will happen. It sucks.
Well, I think you guys mentioned this, I think, on the past Ringside Report. When it does happen, I can't imagine you'll do it with complete strangers ever again.
I think it'll happen. I think I'll, because, yeah, it happens. You do jiu-jitsu, and then there's some guy you don't know, and you're in close quarters with him. And now the thought of that seems a little bit strange, but I think once you get back into the mix, it's just going to happen, It's part of jiu-jitsu. And if you get corona, you get corona, man. It is what it is. Things happen, man. You got to take risks in life. At this point, we're taking all the precautions. If people say you can go back to doing jiu-jitsu, then I'm going to do it 100%. I will be a little bit careful, I guess. But, hey, man, what are you going to do? You got to get back to normal life at some point.
Yeah, gradually. I think gradually it's going to happen. It seems like it's going to happen, but very slowly. And I think jiu-jitsu might be one of the last ones.
What about pro wrestling for you? I mean,
you
have matches with people you don't know all the time, right?
Well, the fact that they've canceled events in Montreal, right, for the summer, that's going to hurt a lot. And then afterwards, even still, I expect the whole empty arena stuff. And then you got to wonder the federations that would want to do that, because a lot of them pretty much depend on that live gate. And if they don't get that, then it's no point in putting on a show.
I'm seeing our buddy Glenn McKenzie, who owns the Gracie Baja School out in West Island. He says he's got a plan for the reopening. We should get Glenn on the show and hear about his plans for reopening. Like, what's it like owning a jiu-jitsu school now? And, what do you feel like is going to be the time when you can come back to normal? Are we going to be rolling in hazmat gis?
Yeah, that would be awkward. Very awkward.
Glenn wants me to do a drills class. If Glenn, you have classes, man, you're doing them online, send me a link. I'll do it. I would love to do that. I'm itching for something, man. I need something.
That'd be cool. You could show that on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you getting invaded again, or what's happening?
I'm getting invaded. I'm going to end the show because I'm getting invaded, all right? Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks for everybody jumping on the Super Chat. I'm being invaded. I got to end the show. Are we ending the show? Show's over?
Hey, Zebby.
You want to say hi to Johnny?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
Are you a dinosaur?
Yeah.
You look like a dinosaur today. You are a dinosaur. T-Rex?
I am a dinosaur.
What's a dinosaur say?
With the face, too. The face is good.
All right, cool. Glenn says he's got some jiu-jitsu thing going on. So send me a link, Glenn. Hook me up on Facebook. Send me the link. We're friends. All right. I'm ending the show. Okay?
All right. Bye-bye. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody jumping on the Super Chat. Big shout-out to Wally. Big shout-out to Derek John. Shout-out to AJ DeLesio, my main man, watching the show as well. Thanks for watching. I got to go. This has been Dave and Johnny Live. Watch Wrestling Uncensored tomorrow. We're going to talk a lot of pro wrestling like I talked about before. A lot of stuff going on. Okay? Bye-bye. We love you big time.